Good evening and welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast.
I'm Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sainsbury.
Marvellous you join us live as we are truly now into the autumn season of the Pompey Politics Podcast. The evening's starting to draw in. You'll note my cat has come here. We are both huddled together for warmth as all of the temperature has gone out of Portsmouth, it appears today. And we are joined by, to give the full title, the Right Worshipful Lord Mayor of Portsmouth, Councillor Tom Coles. Welcome, Tom.
Oh, hi guys. How are you doing tonight?
Really good. And
thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
And Simon, I think the Right Worshipful Mayor of Portsmouth, Councillor Tom Coles, has been very gracious with us. We don't have to use his full title for every question.
You guys can call me Tom. It's fine.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. It certainly makes it easier. One of us was bound to trip up eventually. Yeah, we're just as a bit of an introduction, looking at your biography that's on the council's website. You've certainly had a varied career that's kind of brought you from this point, from a point of pulling pubs to fixing polo pitches to being an assistant medic on submarines. All the way to working in the NHS to a councillor in the city and then to our Lord Mayor. So it's a pleasure to welcome you. Thank you so much for giving us part of your evening. Well, we've got some lovely questions for our esteemed Lord Mayor. So welcome, Tom. Shall we crack on?
We'll crack on. So Tom, what is the role of the Lord Mayor, and what is it? What is it that you do?
Oh, sorry, go on. So the Lord Mayor, mostly a ceremonial. It's the first citizen of Portsmouth, and also as a Lord, the representative of the King. So it's one above a mayor.
Okay, because there are all sorts of different types of mayors, aren't there, around in different cities? The Lord Mayor that most people hear about is obviously the one in London. But different cities have different arrangements of Lord Mayors and what they can do. I don't know if you can still hear us, Tom. You've frozen it. Tom had to join us from his phone because his council laptop wasn't playing ball. Hopefully you're still there, Tom.
It would appear not. This is a technical challenge we hope not to have. So we shall wait in anticipation of Tom returning to us, and we may have to busk for a little bit.
Yeah,
whilst Tom turns up. So just while we're waiting there, one of the things in the political world which I have to say, I thought it's not often. I think comedy and the Labour Party go hand in hand, but I had a lot of respect for them last Monday. There was the protest against Sir Keir Starmer where the protester came and threw a handful of glitter on him. And by Monday morning, Tom, you're back.
Sorry about that. It's just difficult. As soon as we started, my signal died.
No worries at all. I was just filling time respecting the humour of the Labour Party when Sir Keir Starmer got covered with glitter last weekend, that by Monday morning Portsmouth Labour were advertising the glitter with Keir t-shirts that you could purchase from the Labour shop. So let's give that one a
enterprising.
Exactly.
You got to capitalise on these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And a segue, we'll move on to the enterprise later in the podcast. You were just telling us, Tom, the role of the Lord Mayor and what it is you actually do. I think we had got the sort of ceremonial role, but it was kind of how your role might be different potentially to other mayors.
So there's directly elected mayors and mayors who are first citizens who are elected from the ranks of the local councils. And Lord Mayors are one above those, so they have letters patent from the monarch who grants the title of Lord Mayor to the first citizen, and that makes that person the representative of the King. So there's 23 Lord Mayors, I believe. We've had a Lord Mayor since 1928, but we had lots of mayors before that, back to 1531.
Oh wow.
So we have a long history. But yeah, it's an ambassadorial role, really. It's representing the people of Portsmouth through one person.
Excellent.
Okay, so I guess the next and obvious question is then, okay, so how does someone get to be one? What how does that work?
So it's obviously you have to be one of the city council members, and then you put yourself forward. We have a private session after the February full council meeting where members are proposed and seconded for Deputy Lord Mayor and Lord Mayor. So usually the Deputy Lord Mayor becomes the Lord Mayor in the leading year. That's usually the protocol. It's a secret ballot if there's more than one candidate as well. But I came into it because when I was first elected in 2018, my eldest daughter thought I was being made the Lord Mayor at Mayor Making. So I told her if I was re-elected, I put myself forward. So I did. So the person who was supposed to be Deputy Lord Mayor last year lost their seat in the elections.
Oh.
So I put myself forward. And it wasn't until the morning of the Mayor Making that I was told I was uncontested. And we had to process in. Nikki was actually in the audience. I had to go and find her and take her out so she could process in with the rest of us. It was all a bit.
Oh wow!
Very last minute.
So quite an exciting drama then.
Yeah.
And do they kind of cycle from kind of so the Mayor Making is every year when the full council comes back basically after the local elections and in the fourth year. So everyone kind of serves a year, do they?
Yeah, it's a 1 year term. Yeah. You can do more than one. The last time we had a double one was 2001.
Okay. So and do the parties kind of take turns in? Do they kind of share it round in a bit, or is it just it's not done in party colours because the role isn't political in any way, is it?
No, it's you have to be neutral for a year. So it usually goes between the parties, but I'm the first Labour one for 20 years, I believe.
Oh wow.
But we take the neutrality to the next. Because usually you get a ribbon with your party colour, but we're wearing a black one to stay neutral. So.
Oh, okay. Is that quite easy then to suddenly kind of switch off the?
Yeah, it's not too. I'm quite good at compartmentalising, so I can.
That's good. We asked a bit about the differences later on. So, no, thank you for that. It's because it's not something that I think everybody kind of understands how it works and what kind of happens. So, thank you very much.
And I'm loving the imagery you'll portray there, Tom. The old nipping out into the audience, saying, "Come on, Nikki, grab your bag. I'm taking you somewhere nice." It's that, So hopefully she wasn't too shocked at the call.
Oh, it was really last minute. I got packed off to Havant for Mayor Making the very next day. So it's all a bit of a rush.
So that's a great lead into our next question. So again, what does and I'm going to put normal in air quotes, Tom, what does a week for the Lord Mayor look like? Because we've spoken on the podcast before about that need for our councillors to balance work, council duties, and it seems from an outsider looking in that the Lord Mayor is there's a fair kind of amount of pull on your time. So what does a typical week for Lord Mayor Tom Coles look like?
Well, I don't think we have what you call a typical week, but it's hard work, but it's enjoyable. We both have jobs, me and Nikki. So I work as a healthcare support worker on the stroke ward at QA, but I've reduced my hours to 2 days a week while I'm doing this. They've been really flexible with me at work, really good. Nikki works at a nursery in North End with children with special educational needs. She's reduced her hours as well, but we could be doing anything in a week. So just this week we've had visitors to the Lord Mayor's Parlour, coffee morning, which is a monthly thing for our charity. We've been to Mental Health Festival. We started the Great South Run earlier. That was a lot of fun. and somewhere in all that, we have to look after our 3 daughters as well. So it's pretty non-stop.
Wow. I mean, let's be honest. There's somebody. I mean, I admire the skill in starting the Great South Run. Obviously, gives any of us an excuse not to partake in it, which is that's good planning.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah, no, and again, that is good applied skills there, I think, Tom. But no, it sounds like you've got a full on week and then some there. So
yeah, we get days here and there, but then I'll be catching up on housework and admin and bits and pieces. So it's pretty non-stop.
Yeah, it's quite the challenge to fit it in all in, no doubt. But well worth it. So next week we kind of had a little bit of a chat about this before we went live. So next week we're going to be reporting on Tuesday's full council meeting. It's fair to say it's an occasionally combative and drawn out event. What does the Lord Mayor actually? What function does the Lord Mayor actually do? What's the role in that sense? Because you're kind of sat in front of all of those councillors, and how does that appear? Sorry, how does that compare to your experience as a councillor?
It's definitely a different experience of full council, but it's an enjoyable one though. It's less intensing, I think, less intense than attending as a councillor, because I've sort of removed from the political to and fro and remaining neutral and non-partisan. So I get to sort of take a step back and run the meeting rather than be involved in the meeting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, quite often it kind of looks like, and it's interesting looking at the different styles that the different Lord Mayors have had over time. But I don't know, sometimes it kind of looks like you're essentially being a playground monitor and someone with a watch.
Oh, it definitely can get a bit like that. I'm happy to give a bit of leeway here and there and have a little bit of a laugh, but I will be firm but fair when needed. The hardest thing is if there's something that I would normally as a councillor comment on and I have to bite my tongue to remain neutral, that can be a bit difficult sometimes. I think the main advantage is I get to manage how it goes, and I get to call when the breaks are. So if I think both myself and the councillors could do with taking time out and coming back to it, I can call that. That's in my gift. So
if they're starting to get a bit ratty because they haven't been to the loo or they haven't had a cup of coffee or whatever, then you can call time out. Okay. So do you get to decide what's, because the agenda this next week is quite a hefty one. Do you get to decide what goes on the agenda? How does that work?
No, not really. That's mainly the cabinet, and then any groups that have put in motions and questions. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't get to decide it, unfortunately.
Okay. So, and I guess you've kind of mentioned it there a bit. If someone is kind of waffling on a little bit, is how easy is that to kind of bring them in? Because trying to get no disrespect, trying to get politicians to stop talking is sometimes difficult. How do you find that?
Well, as I say, if the second buzzer goes and the 6 minutes are up, I'll generally let them finish their sentence. Mm-hmm. But if they do it repeatedly or take the mickey a bit, I will crack down on them, and I have 10 microphones off. So.
Okay. That's you withdraw the mic from them, basically.
Yeah.
We should remember that for the hustings, Ian.
I think it is something we might need to adopt. So just in terms of, you said there was that sort of acceleration from right, oh crumbs, it is me, I better get on with this. How much training do you get in your sort of mayoral duties, and have you got it? Is there a kind of support team behind the mayoral role who takes a fresh-faced and enthusiastic Tom Coles into the office and says, right, let me talk you through what you need to do here?
The team in the Lord Mayor's office are really good, and I think that's why it's good to have the year as deputy first, because it's almost like an apprenticeship. It's a big step up from that to Lord Mayor, but it's good to have that year to get to know the people in the office, and they can give you pointers on things that are coming up, things you need to organise ourselves, like the charity. We run all of that. The office don't do anything with that, and the social media, which we have to manage ourselves. It's just little bits and pieces about protocol and things, but they're so helpful. The ladies in the office are training up to the Deputy Lord Mayor for their year ahead as Lord Mayor.
And I guess that's like almost like a perpetual situation for them. Is that, and and again, I wonder how they feel that they just managed to train up a Lord Mayor into the position they'd want them to be, and then they get a fresh-faced newbie turning up the.
Start all over again.
You have to start from scratch.
Well, I'm happy to stay on if they need me to.
So you mentioned the charity there, and you know, an awful lot of the work of the Lord Mayor is about you know, doing charitable work and raising money for charities. So how are those charities chosen, and for the ones that you've chosen, can you tell us a bit about them and why they're important to you?
Yeah, that was probably the most difficult task leading up to becoming Lord Mayor, was choosing the charities. I think we always wanted 3. And we wanted them to be within our main areas of interest. So we went with Home Start Portsmouth, because they support families, especially young families, including ours when our children were younger. And Nikki's been a volunteer for Home Start before as well. Enables them to find training and support, and they do a lot of work with neurodivergent children and families, which is within our remit, because with me with ADHD. We went with the Portsmouth Hospitals charity. Obviously, I work at the hospital, so I see the great work they do supporting patients and visitors and staff. And the RNRMC, so the Royal Navy Royal Marines charity. I'm a Royal Navy veteran. My dad's a Royal Navy veteran. They do a lot of work with different groups and organisations supporting our veterans from the senior service. So they actually contacted me, and I went to meet with them, and that was our last one to go in.
Brilliant. So those charities are entirely the gift of the Lord and Lady Mayor.
Yeah. We pick our charities.
Brilliant. And as you explained at the start, you yourself and Nikki both kind of work across quite a diverse range of and they sound like they're charities that are kind of very close to your heart. And what involvement do they have, you know, with you? Is it then a case of you help to organise events with them, or is it a case of you kind of attend their events to try and raise the profile? So how does it actually work in terms of the raising of the money?
So the committee. We put together a committee of friends and people we knew for the charity, and they've helped us organise a lot. But we get the charities involved as much as possible, and we'll go to things they've organised. They'll come to things we've organised. There's a really close working relationship between us, the committee, and all the 3 charities. It's been a really good experience. I'm really enjoying fundraising, doing fun stuff stuff that the Lord Mayors wouldn't normally do to help raise money for the charities.
Oh, now you've opened a door there, Tom, that I've got to push at a little bit. So can you give us an example of perhaps where you've been should we say a little less conventional as a Lord Mayor to help raise some money?
I used the banqueting room, the Lord Mayor's banqueting room at the Guildhall in August to have a birthday party for myself, and we had people buy tickets and come along to that for charity. We raised quite a bit of money as well. It was a lot of fun, and we've got some other things in the pipeline that I don't think have been done before, but I can't say too much at the moment, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a teaser for us to look at.
Always leaving wanting more.
Oh, absolutely. No. I know. I think that's a fantastic idea. I'm organising a birthday party for me, and frankly, if you want to come, you've got to buy a ticket. And at that pace, when people browse furrow to do and you'll be making a donation to charity, that's a fantastic way to make that happen, Tom.
Oh, it's really good. One thing I have been doing is, because obviously we have a lot of raffles, and I think we're probably going to be doing an auction at some point. I've got really shameless at going into shops and emailing companies asking for donations, and we've got some pretty cool stuff that will be coming up in some of our draws. I've got a signed football from Portsmouth. I've got a baseball cap from Williams Formula 1 team that's signed by the drivers. and got a big stack of records from Sub Pop Records that they've given me. So there's lots of stuff coming in. We're hopefully going to get some money raised for the charity.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Well, good to see a bit of flair and a bit of difference, and that's the interesting thing. Kind of year to year, you see that difference, just a bit of a fresh look from one Lord Mayor to the next. So it's good to see that bit of invention there. I'm just making sure that I press the right button to get the next question. So so as part of those ceremonies and the events that you do, we quite often see the Lord Mayor or the Lady Mayoress with the robe and the chains, and the mace is kind of a key part of the council chamber. What can you tell us about the significance and history of these items?
So there's actually two robes that the Lord Mayor wears. There's the black one with the gold trim, which is real gold apparently. So they tell me that's the most formal robe that I would wear. There's also a red one with a fur trim, which I like wearing for citizenship ceremonies down at the registry office. When it comes to the chains, my one dates back to the Lord Mayor's chain dates back to 1837. And it has all the names of the mayors and then later Lord Mayors engraved on it. When they run out of room, they just add more links on the back. I'm on there already, which is quite rare. It's usually at the end of the year they do it, but there were a few behind, so they caught up. The Lady Mayoress's chain is 1857. We only realised a little while ago that's also got names engraved on it. I'm going to try and get Nikki on there. When it comes to the Great Mace, that dates back to the Commonwealth. All the old maces were melted down when they dissolved the monarchy. So it's a Commonwealth mace, but after the Restoration, they squeezed Charles II's cipher in. It does look a little squashed on there. But as I say, it's a symbol of my authority in the city. So they bring that in obviously for full council meetings and coming up for remembrance. It'll be out there with me there as well. About the chains, Nikki actually gets, the Lady Mayoress gets a dress chain. If we're going to like a black tie event, I think she gets this bejeweled necklace with stars and crescents on it, and I'm more than a little jealous of that.
They both sound wonderful. So if they keep just adding a chain, is there going to be a point if they're adding a chain for each one? Is there going to be a point where it's actually so? I imagine that's going to. How much are they quite hefty? The
chain is quite heavy. They're double sided. The ones on the back as well. So, and the ones I was looking at it earlier. The bits on the shoulder and the big bits that go here. There's loads of names on the back of those. So, but yeah, they just keep adding more. I think it's well balanced though. The deputy chain, the weight's all at the front. So I spent the whole year with backache, but this one's really well balanced.
Oh, okay. So at least that's a bit better. It would be, I guess, a bit rubbish to find out the prospective new Lord Mayor can't do half their duties because they've got back on them because of the deputy Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor.
I do need to weigh it though. People keep asking me. I do need to weigh it. I'll do that this week.
And is there a
research? But
Is there a protocol, Tom, which is, and again, does this come out of the Lord Mayor's office, which is when it's appropriate, when you need to wear X or Y, or is it again a little bit down to yourself? That is, if you fancy popping down to the corner shop, are you? Is it considered fair play just to don the chain because you fancy it?
Well, it doesn't live with me. It lives at the Guildhall. So so it'd have to be. We have the events forms, and then it has what they want us to wear on there. And usually it'll say dress will be day wear and chain. So the driver for that day will come around, put our chains on, take us to the place, bring us back, take the chains off us, and then take the chain back to the safe. So my home insurers can rest easy that it's not staying here.
I was going to say, you can just imagine it kind of propped up on the coffee table in the front room.
Although they did let me go all the way to Japan on my own with it, which is very strange because they won't let me walk around Portsmouth on my own.
But you could go to the other side of the
I
planet.
can go to the other side of the planet with yeah.
And how was that with airport security? Because surely that, I mean, it
I
probably.
have lots of customs paperwork and a nice letter describing it all and explaining who I am and what it is. The only one I really had trouble with was going out at Heathrow. It was really like, what is this? It's on the letter. Where are you going? That's on the letter. It's just like,
Okay.
it slowed me down, definitely.
Yeah, well, I guess they want to make sure you're not trying to smuggle gold out the country.
Yeah.
And
yeah. If we're going to another authority as well, say we went to Mayor Fareham for a meal with some of the chain gang. We just wear a badge, so the main bit of the chain at the front comes off, and we just wear that with the ribbon, and we have to ask permission for that.
Oh, what to this
To the authority we're going to, we have to ask for permission to wear the badge.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
And if they come to us, they have to ask us for permission as well. So it's just a historical protocol thing.
Is that like a hierarchical thing? There can only be one Lord Mayor in one city at any one time. Is that the?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not quite like Highlander, but.
Well, I've got a really big sword in the parlour that they don't let me waving around, so I think I'd win that one if it's Highlander.
Okay, well, sorry, I can just see the TV show coming now.
Yep. You mentioned going to Japan there. I guess that was some kind of official visit. I mean, how did that go in terms of, the history and the protocol, and I guess that must have been quite an experience.
Oh, it was an amazing experience. I was only a week and a half, 2 weeks into my term as Lord Mayor. It was to mark the 25th anniversary of our sister city agreement with Maizuru, which is Kyoto.
Yeah.
It was definitely a bit daunting. It's the furthest I've been before that was Florida, and I went all that way to Japan on my own. I'd never even been to an airport on my own before, and I had to go with this big chunk of gold to Helsinki, change planes, and then go to Osaka. But yeah, it was a really, really nice experience. They had everything planned to the minute, and they stuck to that on the itinerary. But it's an amazing country, amazing people, and there's a lot of cultural differences. But I had a good briefing from the team at the council about, for instance, like business cards. You have to present them like this with two hands, and make sure you look at theirs properly. Don't put it in a pocket you're going to sit on. It's lots to think about.
No, it is a fascinating country. I was lucky to visit there with work, and as you say, the protocol is quite challenging. And again, I had to go through that in terms of taking the business card, studying it carefully, and it was only after about the third or fourth time I thought, well, surely somebody realizes I can't actually see what's on the card, but I went through it anyway. So no, that sounds like quite a baptism of fire into your first kind of big event.
Yeah, definitely. And then I came back on the Tuesday, and then I think it was the Friday or the Saturday I went off to Car for D-Day. So it was continent hopping.
Absolutely.
Quite the whirlwind tour then.
Sorry?
Quite the whirlwind tour then.
Yeah.
Coming backwards and forwards, and then but I guess there's never a dull moment then, is there? There's quite by the sound of it, there's quite a variety to what's happening in any given week.
Yeah, definitely. We have at least once a week, maybe every fortnight, we have a meeting with Joe in our office who will go through things that are coming up, things that are already in the diary, other things that have come in. But yeah, they're really good at going through that with us and explaining the things that we have to go and do and things we might like to do. We can always send the deputy if something comes up or if I'm unavailable. And as I say, my ward managers at work are really good at being flexible if something does come up, switching around my shifts or amending my hours so I can get to something in the evening or swapping a day with another colleague.
But it doesn't sound perhaps quite the glamorous life that maybe some people think it is, but it's certainly very interesting and really, really worthwhile to have that opportunity to be able to touch to help those charities and to touch so many people's lives in that way and represent, the city in that way. It's
Yeah.
how what sort of feeling does that give you? It's I couldn't even put words to it.
It's a real privilege. It's we're proud to be the representatives of the city. I mean, we live in a terraced house in Fratton, which people always think that the Lord Mayor's going to live in a big house in the country.
Yeah.
But we're just normal people who've just got an opportunity to go and do lots of stuff we wouldn't normally do. Like even having a meal out. We've got 3 young kids. We never go out. So it's been really good. We're having a lot of fun with it.
Good.
Brilliant. And talking about fun, Tom, I think it's perhaps it's not indelicate to suggest that you are perhaps one of the youngest Lord Mayors we've seen in recent years, and are absolutely certain the first to make any pronouncements in Klingon. And am I right that rather than come into the some traditional dull piece of classical music, am I correct that you selected a track by Metallica?
I did. It was Eye of Beholder, which is the 3rd track off their 1988 album, And Justice for All. But yeah, I'm a big heavy metal fan. I didn't think I'd get away with Rage Against the Machine, so I went with Metallica. I love Metallica, and I knew it was always going to be something off that album. It was just finding the right one, and that's got like a build up. It's almost like wrestling music.
Yeah, I mean, given a choice, Tom, I think I would have preferred Unforgiven, but
that's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, there's a good build to that. But perhaps some of the lyrics might not have fitted with it. So
the story went all around the world. It was all over the place. Went minorly viral, but the comments underneath on some of them, people saying if you listen to the words, this is either really good or really scary. And I was like, it's a song about corruption and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I did again. Knowing a little bit about the work of Metallica myself, I did raise half an eyebrow and thought, "Oh, that's a bold suggestion." So I guess what scope, again, I'm sure when you kind of, I mean, was the Klingon a last-minute decision, or did people know that was coming? I get what scope have you got to be playful?
Oh well, the Klingon, my inauguration speech was actually littered with lots of cultural references. I definitely wanted to get some Star Trek in there. So when I was writing it, I dropped in. There's a couple of Shakespeare bits before that, and then I got into General Chang in Star Trek 6. He says "tach bar, tach bear." So it's just to be or not to be. So I was going to drop that in, and I did make sure the office were okay with me doing that. But they had to.
You've read Shakespeare in the original Klingon.
The office, because we have a British Sign Language interpreter at the mayor making, so I had to tell them what it meant so they could do some sort of signing for it. But we do have some leeway to push boundaries where need be. For instance, our official portrait is the Lord Mayor and the Lady Mayoress together, and that's the first time that's ever happened. There was a little bit of debate in the office about that, but we wanted to show that we're a team. It's not just me. It's not just a Lord Mayor and a consort. It's a Lord Mayor and a Lady Mayoress together, and it's not just the man and his consorts. We wanted to show a bit more equality and get both of us on there.
Yeah, because if it's a Lady Mayoress that's the actual mayor, then their other half isn't called the Lord Mayor, are they? They're called the consort. Is that right?
Yeah, the Lord Mayor's consort.
Yeah.
Although I've said to Nikki, if she ever does get elected and becomes Lord Mayor, I will insist on being called the Lady Mayoress.
That's a bold move.
I get to wear that nice necklace then.
Absolutely, no. It's a reason. And I guess that's just maybe one that we could explore, Tom. Obviously, you're in elected office, and how has Nikki found that kind of adjustment from being kind of catapulted into your kind of mayoral world? Is she grasping it with both hands?
Yeah. I think definitely I think she's probably better at it than I am, to be fair. She's done a few things on her own. And she's really using it to help promote women and work with children, and especially, as I said earlier, neurodivergence. We actually organised we had a visit from a nursery come in, all preschoolers, and Nikki organised all sorts of activities for them, and it was really good. It went down really well, and now we've got lots of nurseries that want to come and visit us.
That will certainly keep you busy. But that must have. I mean, that hopefully is a memory that will stay with those kids for life. Surely that's going to be quite a thing.
Yeah, I think I realised a few weeks in that people might not get to ever see a Lord Mayor or a mayor, so I always make time for people, and I'll never say no to a photo if we've got the chain on. And you can see how much it means to some people, because they're like, oh, and they're driving in the car, and you see people properly do a double take, and like, just open jaw, watch the car go past. Always give them a little wave.
Have you perfected your wave? Is it? Do you always have to sit in the back? Is that part of the protocol as well?
Yeah. I'm not even allowed to open my own door.
Oh,
wow.
Which that took some getting used to, because your car pulls up and you just automatically go to get out, but now I have to wait for them to come around and open it. It's a little odd.
There must be some. So you must have, and I guess you're 6 months into the role now. And what would you say has perhaps been the most surreal moment so far?
I think it's probably the Japan thing, to be honest with you. It was just very odd to be that far away on my own with a big hunk of priceless gold. But yeah, that was quite odd. There's been other bits as well. We got invited to a charity do in Westminster and met Charles Dance. That was pretty cool. It's just been a great opportunity to, like I say, do stuff we'd never even think of doing. Which enjoying it all. It's been really good.
Yeah, and I think, and it's a fascinating perspective, because it's that element of, again, quite often on the podcast we discuss the kind of serious issues and the tensions and the politics and everything else. It sounds like you're having an awful lot of fun. It's that kind of embraced it with both hands and gone, well, we're going to run with this hard for a year and have as much fun as we can have.
Yeah, definitely. We've booked a holiday for the first half term after May. So literally the first half term after we've stopped being Lord Mayor Lady Mayoress, we're going away for a week with the kids, all inclusive in Spain. So we're just gonna keep going, and we'll have a break then. I'd say the most surreal thing actually is getting saluted by officers, because I was an able rating in the Navy, and get saluted by a lieutenant commander or something. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? It's very odd.
Do you what do you do with that? Do you have to salute them back? Is that the protocol?
Oh, I just I have to nod, because I do have worn my old Navy beret at the Falklands, one of the Falklands memorials, for instance. So I can salute back if I've got that on.
There's a whole kind of list of different kind of do's and don'ts things. So it kind of, the part of it kind of sounds like you'd expect it to be, and with there's so much tradition kind of surrounding it, you'd almost expect it to be kind of quite stuffy and quite staid and quite restrained. But what's coming across from how you're talking about it is actually how much life you're kind of breathing into that, and how enjoyable you're both finding that, despite all the hard work, because of just the sheer value that has, and the response you can see in other people.
Yeah, definitely. We've definitely added a level of unpredictability, I'd say, from the normal. We can turn on the formality when we need to.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty good at gauging when we need to be sensible, and it's very staid, and but we're just having fun. It's great.
Well, pretty. Who wouldn't want to have that much fun and have all of those, the opportunity to do such worthwhile work? It sounds really, really great. So, having talked about all of those things, with thinking about kind of the role itself, or probably more specifically you've seen the council chamber from both sides of the mace. What things would you change about how they operate, if you could? Not that the Lord Mayor has the power to, probably you can't wave the mace and say I directed it, or can you?
Oh, no. No, I'm not even really supposed to touch it. So
no. Oh, okay. Is it kind of sat there as a referential, because someone kind of brings it in and kind of lays it out? And
yeah, I've with the gloves on, obviously I have felt the weight of it. It's really heavy, and it's all one end heavy, so it's quite a difficult thing to hold.
I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of it if someone was to swing.
Oh no.
Oh, I've always thought of the mace as being ceremonial, but it is. I mean, obviously based on the medieval weapon of being a mace.
Yeah.
It is,
oh, you could do some damage if you were swinging it, I think. Yeah. I think it weighs about a stone, I think. Ooh. And like I say, it's all up one end, so it's,
yeah.
That's one way to stop the council meeting arguments. It's just waving that around would quieten them down a little bit, I guess. But
yeah.
So
yeah. I think as we touched on earlier. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, we touched on earlier about being mindful of if things need to be on the agenda. Is this something we're just using to dig at other people, or actually something that's going to make a difference to people in Portsmouth? I think there's some people who insist on speaking on every single item, and they might not necessarily need to. They're just repeating things that someone else in their group's already said, and it slows things down, and I think it turns people off a bit. It's just reducing the length of time that we're in there. So it's just, I've heard estimates of midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning for Tuesday, but I'll try and make sure it runs a lot smoother than that.
We've already started our sweepstake, Tom. We tend to look at the agenda and then have a go. And I'll be honest with you, again, and I don't want to set you down a challenge, but we've got you the wrong side of midnight, I'm afraid. So
challenge accepted.
Okay,
well.
I do hold the record, apparently, for quickest ever full council, which was the appointing of the chief executive and honorary recorder. I think it was 9 minutes 45 or something like that. So
I think
never had a meeting that quick.
I think it would take more than 9 minutes 45 just to read out the agenda for Tuesday.
So, it's definitely a big thick one.
Many trees were culled in the printing of this document.
So I think also, like, there's a lot of muttering and stage whispering that goes on during meetings that I never noticed as a councillor, but it's really audible from the chair.
Really?
It's a level of respect, I think, it needs to be maintained. Also, things like addressing the chair, which I think is 38A, 37A standing order. So you're supposed to address everything through the chair rather than looking at the person that's just spoken and directing everything at them. That brings the respect up and makes it a bit more formal, I think. So I do insist upon that. And as we said earlier, I have turned microphones off before. So,
well, I guess that also stops it. I guess maybe the part of the theory there is to stop it being so adversarial. I don't know what difference it makes really, because it doesn't seem to stop it being. So maybe it'd be worse without it. But yeah, I've noticed sometimes people kind of slip into, out of habit, they'll direct their response to the person that their rebuttal is aimed at, rather than directing it at the Lord Mayor. But it's kind of in some ways it's kind of a mini kind of. It's kind of a mini representation of kind of Parliament in that sort of sense, isn't it? In where the MPs are supposed to address the Speaker rather than the other MP. But as the chair of the meeting, I guess if they really misbehave, you don't give them a break.
Yeah. I might need one though.
Well, and I was going to touch on that, John, Tom, if you don't mind me doing that. You mentioned there, and we were chatting that you have ADHD, and one of the things we've noted is that in the business world, nobody would schedule an 8 or 10 hour meeting.
No, definitely not.
So I guess if you don't mind sharing, how do you get through such a long and grinding schedule when I guess other councillors can can just drift off into the middle distance and, you know, zone out for a half an hour. But it feels like you've got to be pretty much on your toes for all 8 hours.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was a councillor, I deliberately sat from where the chair is, deliberately at the back left, just because I could get to the tea easier, and nip out to the loo if I needed to. But actually, as I said at the beginning, it's a lot less intensive being the Lord Mayor. I've got a script that I follow with like, if this happens, do this. If this happens, do that. I've got the city solicitor and the head of the head of democratic services to help me out. And it's just, I've got the list on the screen of what order people have called in. It's just making sure I turn the microphones on and off. So I've not been doing too bad. I don't think I'd be able to do it if I tried to be Lord Mayor before I was back on medication for ADHD. It definitely does help. And I've got Heather, my sergeant at Mace, on hand to bring me tea and coffee as and when. And as I say, I can always call a break if I need to. So yeah, that's completely in my gift. I think it was the last full council. I decided I was going to go in full robes, and about halfway through, I decided that was too hot. So I had to call a break to go and take it off because I was just, it wasn't a good idea. I looked good though. So.
You should imagine it looks kind of very resplendent. But I did wonder actually how warm they are, because especially if you're like sat in that chamber.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. So even after I realised after mayor making, I was trying to find my family where everyone's having tea and coffee, and it's just everyone just wanted a photo and crowding around me, and it's just dripping in sweat underneath all that. So I'll just wear a shirt and trousers underneath, and I'll put the jacket on when I take it off. But they're very warm.
No, it was a few years ago when former councillor Lee Mason was mayor. He came to an official event at the rugby club, which you think would have been a winter thing, and it was early season. It was 28 degrees, and he was in the full robes. And I did feel for him that, you know, at one point he sort of went and hid under the shade of the trees. And so it does sound like it is a pretty full on event. So I guess if we look ahead, you know, you talked about May, and often, you know, for us on the podcast, once we get past the elections, and obviously, you know, we do the hustings in the run up to the elections, we tend to collapse in a heap. I guess that it is part of the challenge. You know, we know that local political parties are, you know, they're not hundreds strong, full of activists, and we know that you know, the councillors and candidates help each other out. Do you see a challenge coming next kind of April, where probably you and Nikki would have been knocking doors and delivering leaflets, where you're still going to have to be full on with your mayoral responsibilities?
Yeah, it's going to be odd, I think, definitely, because I mean, I've been campaigning in Fratton since 2012, 2013. So it's going to be very odd, sort of having to be busy with mayor stuff and taking a little bit of a back. I'll get out and help out where I can, hopefully. I don't think anyone in my party definitely knows this ward half as well as me. But yeah, it'd be nice to be doing something else for a bit, I think. But it's going to be an odd time.
So
you want to be pounding the streets with a bag full of leaflets and a chain.
Oh, that definitely wouldn't go down well.
No,
I can imagine it not, but just from a sheer just carrying it around perspective, I mean, it's one sort of exercise regime, but it's not one that democratic services, I guess, would like very much.
Oh no, definitely not.
Not keen. So with the next 6 months, Tom, is there? Are you able to pick out sort of one or two highlights for us and the listeners where, you know, potentially people could get involved and support what you're doing?
Obviously, we've got Remembrance coming up next month, which is one of the biggest things, especially being a historically military town. That's always a big turnout down the Guildhall. Got a very, very busy few days there, including doing a wreath at QA, which I think is the first time that's been done. Been very close with the chap who's in charge of veteran services up there. Got lots of stuff going on at Christmas. We have our coffee mornings. I think it's the second Tuesday of every month. I might be wrong on that. And then we have other things. We've got a meal this week, which is sold out. We've got quizzes coming up for our charity, and it's all on our Facebook and Instagram, I believe. So,
Well,
yeah, it's going to be good. That's one thing we've had lots of good comments about is our social media, and that's all down to Nikki, really. She's got Insta set up so it goes to Facebook automatically, and it's just nice to show what the Lord Mayor's up to. It's, I think, might not have happened in the past as much as we've been doing it. We try to put one on for every single post, because there might be charities or groups that could do with a bit of publicity, so we're happy to help promote those things.
no, that's brilliant. And I think in our experience of without wishing to be unkind, working with some of our local councillors and candidates over the years, we've perhaps found some, it would be fair to say, Simon, who are not perhaps at the cutting edge of tech savvy. Would that be fair?
I think that's probably a fair assessment. But Lord Mayors aren't kind of limited with that. I think that's quite a thing. Probably across the chamber, there's some people that are really great at social media, and there's some people that wouldn't know a thumbs up from a retweet, or is it a re-X now? I'm not sure. I can't.
I still call it Twitter. I'm not calling it X.
There's something not right about that. So no, Tom, thank you ever so much for sharing. Fantastic insights into everything you're doing. So, is there just anything you'd like to sort of close the show out with to either let us know or anybody particular you'd like to call out?
Well, I'd like to, of course, thank the Lady Mayoress, Nikki Coles, for her patience and understanding over the years. It was our anniversary on Friday just gone, so she's been putting up with me for 16 years now. But she's I couldn't do this without her. And a big shout out to my 3 girls, Ellen, Kira, and Darcy as well, which take up all the time. I'm not doing anything else. So, and a big thanks to you two guys as well for having me on tonight. It's been great fun chatting to you guys.
God bless you. You're more than welcome. It's been lovely to have you. We appreciate you taking the time out of your evening.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Fabulous.
That's what we like.
So you've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
And our guest has been
the Right Worshipful, the Lord Mayor of Portsmouth, Councillor Tom Coles.
Yeah. And I've been Simon Sansbury. Don't forget to join us next week at 6:27, when we'll be having a look at how that marathon meeting turned out, and we'll see whether Tom managed to get home shortly after midnight or before, and how everyone else did, and how the votes went. So join us next week at 6:27. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast.